Hi there, and welcome to Playing to Protect with Melodie Bissell, the safest podcast on the internet. My name is Joshua Bissell, and I'm the producer of this weekly podcast where we tackle topics around abuse prevention and vulnerable sector protection. We're starting a new series this week with Melodie addressing vulnerable adult abuse and how as a society we need to do so much more to prevent it. Thank you so much for joining us for this new series and for this podcast of Playing to Protect with Melodie Bissell, the safest podcast on the internet. Bye now.
Hello. A few years ago, I was teaching a group of seniors, and at the end of the training session, one of the women had tears in her eyes. She was sitting in the front row, and she asked if she could speak to me. And she said to me, I live with my daughter and my son-in-law, and sometimes my son-in-law gets very angry with me, and he can lose his temper, and at times he grabs me very harshly, and I get bruises on my arms. And she said, I don't want to get him in trouble. I know that he has a lot of pressure at work. He has a lot of demands on him. And I know he probably didn't sign up to have his mother-in-law living with him. But I'm wondering if you can give me any advice on what I can do to encourage my son not to hurt me. One time he even punched me. My heart went out that day to Cynthia, because here is a woman who deeply loves her daughter and her son-in-law. She's very grateful for the fact that she can live with them, but she also is being abused by her son-in-law. But she doesn't want to get him in trouble. I tried to help her that day see that what was happening was not right, and that by getting help for herself and getting help for her son-in-law, she was really creating a much healthier family, even for her daughter. On June 15th, we will be celebrating Global Elder Abuse Awareness Day. During the month of June at Plan to Protect, we're devoting our activities and our efforts to raising the awareness of elder abuse. So much so, we are even going to carry this on throughout the year. During the month of June in our podcast, I will be focusing a new edition every week around the topic of elder abuse. Today, we're going to be talking about elder abuse awareness. Thank you so much for joining us. I really hope this whole series will help protect the elderly in your own life, your family, your community, and within the programs that you offer. The basic human rights of older citizens is challenged and undercut every day. And tragically, this has become even more true during COVID. It's estimated that between 7 to 10% of all senior citizens are abused every year. That's 1 in every 6 seniors globally. A survey released in 2016 by the National Initiative for the Care of the Elderly estimated that 766,000 Canadians were abused during 2015. In a similar study in 2015, a weighted sample of Canadians ages 55 years of age and older pulled a sample of 8,100 Canadians. The prevalence of abuse within that study found that 7.5% of Canadians suffered some form of abuse, whether that be physical, sexual, psychological, emotional, or financial. According to the Griswold Home Care Study, approximately 5 million seniors in the United States were abused each year. That's 1 out of every 10 Americans over the age of 60 have experienced some form of abuse. Only 1 out of every 24 of those cases were reported. The elderly fall under the category of a vulnerable person. A vulnerable person is a person who, because of their age, their disability, or other circumstance, whether temporary or permanent, is dependent on others or is otherwise a greater risk than the general population of being harmed, injured, or abused by someone, often in a position of trust. So today, as we focus on elder abuse awareness, I want to speak to those of you who are seniors. I trust this podcast is one that you will share with the elderly and seniors within your community. What is elder abuse? It's any deliberate act or lack of action that causes harm to an older individual, an older adult. Similar to a child, elder abuse can be physical, emotional, sexual, financial, or neglect. It can include under-medicating or over-medicating an individual. That would be constituted as abuse. It's violating the civil rights of a person. Elder abuse, as I said, is often caused by a family member or friend. In Cynthia's scenario, she was abused by her son-in-law. It can also involve abuse by a caregiver. I remember my grandmother was institutionalized when she was 80. She was in a seniors long-term care facility. I was in my 20s at the time. I can remember my grandmother begging me to take her out of there. She told me terrible things happened to her during the night, that men would come into the room and do things to her. At the time, I didn't know what I know now. At the time, I just thought it was dementia. Oh, how I wish I knew what to look for. I wish I knew the signs to watch for. Later this month, we will be focusing on how to protect the elderly in your care and also to protect yourself from wrongful allegations of abuse. But as we look at abuse awareness of the elderly today, it is important for us to know that so often it is at the hands of a family member or a friend or a caregiver. If you are an elderly person and you can identify with Cynthia's story, please hear me. That abuse is not your fault. In Cynthia's case, she felt that she warranted the abuse that was directed towards her. She wanted to protect her son-in-law and said, well, he felt a lot of pressure at work and at her home. I should be grateful, she said, that I can even live with them. Any form of abuse is not your fault. It is controlling behavior. It is a power differential. A power differential is when someone who is stronger, more powerful, either in a role of an authoritarian, a boss, a leader, it can be a family member, but they exert their power and their control over an individual. The one thing I know for sure is abuse does not stop on its own. If it is ignored, it will continue, and often it can become worse. You can take action on your own and certainly with the help of others if you know that you are being abused. With the help of others, you can end the abuse. You would be doing that individual a favor by getting help to stop the abuse. You may feel you need to protect your children, your spouse, family members, or even a care provider, even if they are treating you badly. Abusive behavior is not healthy. It's not healthy for you or your family member. No one ever deserves to be hurt. It's okay to reach out for help. Because we live in an aging society, seniors are susceptible to abuse, but certainly people who are 80 years of age and older. They represent the fastest growing segment of our society. And because of that, elder abuse is on the rise. Both the Canadian and the US government are investing millions of dollars to help combat elder abuse. As the number of elderly individuals continue to grow, so will the cases of elder abuse. We need to raise awareness of this topic. We need to equip seniors with the tools, the resources, and the knowledge to combat elder abuse. Do you know that one elderly person is abused every 2 minutes? So even during this podcast, 10 to 15 people have been abused. We can do something about this. I'm going to ask the team to put in the notes below some important links so that you can learn more about this topic of elder abuse. Here at Plan to Protect, as I said, during the month of June, we are adding extra effort, opportunities for training, resources, policy statements. Every month for the next year, I will be offering complimentary webinars on the topic of elder abuse awareness. Please join me for extended teaching on this topic. Please set aside June 15th. Find opportunities within your organization, your community, your family, your friends to raise awareness of elder abuse. Thank you so much for joining us for this podcast today. I am committed to protecting the elderly because my mother-in-law has Alzheimer's. She is in a long-term care home. She has wonderful, caring people that care for her, feed her, bathe her, clothe her. It is a privilege for me to be an essential caregiver to my mother-in-law, but she no longer remembers my name. I realized my mother-in-law would be an easy target of abuse. At times it can be frustrating providing the care that she needs. Sometimes she's angry with me and irritated and can be very demanding. But I truly love her, and it is a privilege to sit with her, to read with her, to sing to her. But she would be an easy target to abuse because she has no memory. Please help us to protect individuals who have given so much to our society, have left us such a legacy. They do need protection. So please help us during the month of June to raise awareness of elder abuse, and let's prevent elder abuse from happening. Thank you so much for joining me. Take care. Bye.